Thank you so much, everyone, for waiting. Andre, YouTube is now live. Our
Thank
council, everyone, YouTube is now live. And are you all set with Block Island Times, Andre?
Yes, Rosemary came in and fixed the Block Island Times also.
Excellent. So,
All right.
47 minutes.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us. Here we go. So we have the New Shoreham Town Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, February 9th, 2021. And the New Shoreham Town Council will be meeting via telecommunications pursuant to State Rhode Island Executive Order 20-46 dated June 12th, 2020. For those of you at home that would like to tune in on the Zoom line, you can raise your hand on your phone by pressing 9 and mute and unmute by pressing *6. With that, I'm going to get right into it. And first item on our agenda is an update from Dr. Walkup of the Block Island Medical Center. So Doc Walkup, if you're there, we have a few people.
I'm here. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear. Thank you, Doctor.
Excellent. You're welcome. So good evening, everyone. Let's start off with some really good news. To date, we have been able to vaccinate about 110 people on the island. 75 people have received 2 vaccines. 35 individuals have received their first vaccine. This gives us approximately 9 to 11% of the island population that we have vaccinated thus far, which is really good comparatively to other towns and municipalities within the state. And we are continuing to advocate vigorously. And I want to first start off with a big shout out to Billy McComb, who's a juggernaut in the support for the Block Island vaccination program, as well as for Kira Ernst, who does a lot of work in the background with documentation and organization. So I really appreciate both of their partnership in this. We have anticipated, we are anticipating the delivery of another 50 vaccines next week. We will be communicating that through our various outlets, the Block Island Bulletin Board, as well as our website, social media, etc. We will also be reaching out to the 80-plus-year-old patients that are now next in the queue. We have been able to successfully vaccinate all of our elders that are 90 years old and over with both vaccines, which is terrific. And 80-year-olds and down are next for us. And we want to really thank the community members that have reached out to advocate for Block Island for vaccinations. They have heard us. We have, I had a phone call with Representative Filippi at 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon about a letter that he wrote to Dr. Alexander Scott. My understanding is Senator Sosnowski has done the same. On the EMA directors meeting as of 11 o'clock today, they have understood that we are advocating very strongly. They have heard the multiple emails per day. So I think we will be successful with attaining some of the surplus vaccine that may happen. The 2 main points that we are advocating very strongly and consistently about is part of the state's program is to use CVS and Walgreens, which is not readily available to islanders. And also our community is underrepresented on the census, which is the other driving force of data for the state because of many people that are here, because it's their second home and they may be represented in other censuses. So we are advocating those points very strongly, and we are going to continue to advocate on a weekly basis for our vaccine. But at this point, we will be getting 50 additional vaccine as of next week, and we will communicate out as we receive additional vaccine. So thank you for all the support. This is good news for us, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Walkup. I understand those letters came to the town yesterday from Representative and Susan. So if any councilors have any questions for the doctor?
Dr. Walkup, it's Mark Emanuel. Who were those terrific, wonderful, super people at Legion Park recently, and what were they doing?
We were practicing, this was the idea of Billy McComb, Michael Ernst, and others, where if we wanted to do a large-scale vaccination program, we wanted to try out a venue in the outdoors. So we communicated with EMA Director Billy McComb. That road that was blocked off for Cardi, Camp and Cardi over the summer for the sidewalk program, We had people enter the beginning off the center road. They came to a corral where we did the vaccinations, and then they moved forward for their 15-minute observation period. EMS was part of that program, members of the Block Island Medical Center, and it really went off extremely well. We were able to vaccinate more than 75 people in that 1 5-hour session, and it's clear that after practicing it and a few refinements, we could at least double that. So we have a large-scale community vaccination process. It's too difficult for us to do that within the medical office and also have people walk into the building, especially if they're elders. We have 90-year-olds and 80-year-olds. And if the weather cooperates, then we could vaccinate large-scale individuals. We'd also like to practice at the gym, so that way we wouldn't have to worry about inclement weather. So we're practicing and refining various vaccination sites on the island. That's what you were witnessing or others witnessed last Saturday.
You and everybody there are super. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mark. Any other counselors? Anyone?
And also, additionally, no new cases on the island over the past 4 weeks. So great job, everyone. Keep up the strong work. The state is holding their breath, as well as the nation, over the next 2 weeks to see if the Super Bowl develops into a super spreader event. And remember that Moderna vaccine, the vaccine that we receive here on the island, is effective against the UK variant, which is becoming more of a dominant strain throughout the U.S. as we get closer to the summer.
Thank you. That's excellent news. Sven, hang on a second. I just want to ask.
I can't hear anything now.
We can hear you.
What?
Scott, Dr. Walkup, do you have, if this all rolls out as best as it possibly can, and we know the limitations on that with the state, when do you think I know this is taking a stab at the dark, but that most, the people that live, the year-rounders, when do you think that it'd be possible to think that maybe everybody could be vaccinated? The end of the summer, the spring, the fall, or? I know that's
I think it'll be this. I think it will be this spring. Dr. Fauci indicated Sunday rather, that with Johnson & Johnson coming online and as more individuals have been vaccinated, it's freeing up the supply and demand. He feels that it's not a lack of planning, but purely supply and demand that's currently happening. Obviously, state allocations and the federal contracts with the companies to develop vaccine, but as of this week, Moderna has doubled Pfizer has doubled their vaccine production from 130 days down to 60 days. So everybody is pushing as hard as they can. And I just would hope that everybody, I know there's fatigue, COVID fatigue in so many different ways, but we're near the finish line. We're doing great on the island with no new cases over the past 4 weeks. I have complete confidence that everyone that would like to have a vaccine on the island will likely get it by the end of April.
That's excellent news, and we certainly appreciate those efforts. Sven?
Yeah, very briefly, I just wanted to continue to thank Dr. Walkup and Bill McComb and others for the continued updates. I think the emails, videos, just continuous updating has been really helpful and very reassuring. So just wanted to thank you for that. It just makes everybody feel better when they know a little bit, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions for the doctor? Seeing none. Thank you very much, Dr. Walkup. Continued good work. I'm going to move on to the next item on the agenda. And discussion with the Rhode Island Public Transit Authority, RIPTA, representative regarding the feasibility of a pilot program for Block Island Jitney in the summer of 2021. Mary Ann, I know you've been working on this with the RIPTA folks, and so I'll give you the floor to do. Give you.
Andre, before we start, let me state that I'm a taxi license owner, so I will be recusing myself.
Thank you, Mark.
As will I.
Thank you, Martha.
Okay, sorry, just had to go talk to staff about folks. Andre, did you introduce me? Am I on the show now? Am I?
I should have seen if you were there or not. I know you're trying to the technology go back and forth, but
Okay,
I've introduced you to and I basically said you've been working with the RIPTA folks, you know,
Okay.
issues that we asked the last meeting. So with that, I would ask, I was going to ask you to just go through that.
okay. So to echo what First Warden Boudreau has said, that after the last meeting we had with you folks, there was a number of questions that were proposed. So we worked together, myself, Scott Abadesian, Allison Ring, and Greg Norton from RIPTA. So what I'll do this evening right now is go through the questions that were asked and also provide you with the answers that we've come up for you. So first was, does RIPTA have a shuttle that is shorter than the vehicles being discussed? More like a 15-person shuttle bus. It seems it'll be better for stop area, turning radius, etc. Does RIPTA have a shuttle not narrower than 9 feet? I measured the roads the other day, and given walkers, bikers, etc., a 9-foot wide vehicle is worrisome. A typical RIPTA bus is 40 feet long. RIPTA originally proposed for service a shorter 30-foot bus. The trolley is actually 35 feet, but we selected that for the added character and historical look. All these vehicles are 9 feet wide. RIPTA does have a 15-passenger paratransit vehicle that is slightly less wide at about 8 to 8.5 feet, dependent on the specific vehicle manufacturer. With current COVID regulations, RIPTA can only transport 4 passengers on these vehicles. With 4 passengers per vehicle, RIPTA would need to provide a number of additional buses and staff, and we just will find that would not be feasible. Next question. And for comparison, the trolley has a reduced capacity of 20 people. Due to COVID, capacity typically is about 30 seats and with 50 standing. Block Island has narrow roads. Would this present a problem? Commonly, the trolleys are providing services to the mansions in Newport, with current routing taking them through many areas in Newport with similar road widths that we see here in Block Island. RIPTA also provided the example of its regular service in downtown Bristol, with its narrow roads and congestion. Keep in mind, Block Island school buses are similar in size as the trolleys. Is there a way to get a proportional amount of the subsidy applied to other RIPTA routes? Based on the presentation, I believe I heard the other routes throughout the state are subsidized, but Block Island service has to be self-sustained. Why? Keep in mind, RIPTA is a quasi-governmental agency to provide public transportation to the people of Rhode Island. They're not looking to make a profit on this service. A large part of RIPTA subsidies comes from the federal government based on the ridership. There's currently no ridership in Block Island, so RIPTA is not receiving any funds. Can RIPTA help us with the size of the stop areas, including pull in and pull out? This can be determined once we've identified the routes. The plan is for RIPTA to bring a trolley to Block Island for a test drive on some of the island roads and stops. This exercise would help determine the routes we would be implementing. Will boarding the bus stops result in traffic backup? With the cashless fare system, boarding times have reduced significantly for RIPTA. RIPTA also has a automated technology, smart wave collection system that I will leave it to the RIPTA folks if you need some more information in that regard. Can seasonal passes be offered as a product option for employers to purchase for their seasonal employees? Yes, we have discussed this with RIPTA, and they are willing to work with the business on the islands to develop a seasonal pass. Can RIPTA provide ridership data midway at 30 or 35 days into the service? Yes. RIPTA can provide ridership data as the pilot program progresses, including in a 30 to 45 day midpoint for the summer. RIPTA tracks total daily boarding as well as ridership data at specific routes. I know RIPTA wants to go a no-go decision in early March, but when is the absolute cutoff for a mid-June startup? I well understand lead times and want to check if March 3rd is the absolute latest. In order for RIPTA to schedule staffing, ferry reservations, determine routes, these are just to name a few, we need a decision by March 1st. If we intend to get the pilot program up and running by mid-June. And finally, do you know of similar communities with public transit and taxis companies that have successfully provided transportation? Seasonal bus service started in Nantucket in 1995, and they've continued to operate on the island along with taxis, 64 licenses issued by the town. Nantucket has piloted limited daily year-round bus routes and continues to have a wait list for taxi license. Demand for taxi has remained as they have provided for service needs beyond a fixed route. The staff at RIPTA also did other research in other island communities, and if you like them to discuss that, they'll be more than happy to discuss what other island communities that they have statistical data in as it relates to trolleys and taxis. And that's all I have, and I have a wicked echo, so.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Much appreciated. Counselors, do you have any questions for our town manager?
Oh,
Go ahead, Sven.
I was actually asking Ripta about the other example. Sorry.
That's
I'll wait.
okay. You can ask Ripta.
Okay. I would love just to hear. I thought the Nantucket one was very helpful. Thank you, Marianne. And if there are other examples, especially given seasonal influx like we have, that would be just helpful for everybody to hear.
Sure. Greg, do you want to go over the list that we put together?
Yeah, we looked at probably about, just guessing on the size of the list here, about 10 other island tourist sort of similar scenarios. We looked at Santa Catalina in California, has a slightly larger population than Block Island. They do operate weekend service in peak times of their holiday, or I'm sorry, their tourist season. We looked at, let's see, there was probably about 4 or 5 islands that do not have any service. Some of these I'm going to butcher. Chincoteague, Virginia, Galveston Island in Texas, Hilton Head, North Carolina, Fisher's Island in New York, Fire Island in New York, and Chebague, somewhere in Maine. All of these have populations anywhere from a couple hundred people with high seasonal traffic to Hilton Head, where there's 40,000 people. None of those had transit. However, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, both had substantive transit for holiday or seasonal transit. Bowen Island in British Columbia was probably the closest we found. It's an island of about 3,000 people, so it's slightly larger than Block Island. It's about twice the size of Block Island. It also has 3 fixed route vehicles that are operating throughout the summer months. And then St. Martin was the last one we looked at, which is again probably about three times as large as Block Island, and they're operating more on an ad hoc basis. So they don't have necessarily scheduled fixed route service, but they do have kind of an unscheduled ad hoc transit on the island.
Thank you, Greg. Sven, you have a follow-up? Or?
No, thank you.
Keith, do you have anything?
No, I appreciate that. I think that was my question originally, and it's just very helpful that they're painting a picture of what's happening on other islands. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I open this up to the public, I do realize that we also had a proposal from the Motor Vehicles for the Hire Commission come across our desk today. And I just want to take questions on this aspect before we, Brad, I see your hand up. Thank you. Before we discuss that, but Brad, I see your hands up. Oh, hold on one second, Sven.
Actually, Andre, yeah, one question, and you may have, or Marianne may have mentioned this, and this is really to the RIPTA folks. I know you've been running some flex buses that are much smaller, but are they 9 feet wide? And two, is that an option, or is that the one that Marianne talked about that's limited to then 4 people given COVID?
Right. So the Power Transit Flex vehicle is about 8 feet wide, but it only, right now, under COVID restrictions, we can only have the driver and 4 passengers.
And then my last question, while we all hope COVID's over tomorrow, we just heard from the doctor that possibly this spring on Block Island and Rhode Island's going to be later probably. Any forecast from RIPTA about timing, or is that a consideration in your financial planning? When the services will be opened, like when the governor will do that?
We're hoping for any day, but we've not been given any belief that it's going to be anytime soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much to everybody.
Thank you, Scott. Brad Martins.
Thank you, Andre.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Andre. I know that you have a proposal that was put forth by Judy Clark, and I think she should speak on that, but that is actually a suggested program that you did a lot of hard work, and we thank you very much for that. But it is a proposal. It is not something that we have had the opportunity to meet on, because we haven't had time to schedule a meeting on that and put it on an agenda as we would have to in a proper public forum. But it's got some great ideas on it, and I appreciate what RIPTA has done with looking at other island communities. Nantucket obviously has a population of, I believe, in excess of 20,000, so it's not really apropos there for what we're doing here. And I question also, and not being negative, but you've got a lot of small businesses here. Most of those businesses are minority owned by females as well as seniors, and you will be putting them out of business by taking 25 to 40% of the potential revenue they garner during that 8-week period that you're talking about. And I'm not sure that any of us want that, including the SBA or the federal government, considering the push on small businesses and minorities as well. On top of that, I'd be interested in those small communities if they have small independently run businesses, or if they, meaning the taxis and limos and buses as well, versus probably corporations doing it. This is a form of retirement for these people, and to put them out, minority of any sort, out of business, which is what this potentially would do when we have the opportunity. And I think I've discussed this with a number of counselors, as well as on the comprehensive plan, which does suggest that you talk with this commission as well as the license holders to come up with a proposal. I think it's probably been decided now that we do need to look at this. And I think there's been a commitment by the taxi license holders, as well as motor vehicles, to see if we can't come up with something, but it's not going to be in a 10-day period. It's going to take 30 days. It might even require or it would require some ordinance changes, utilizing the town solicitor, as well as maybe even our representatives upstate as well, with regards to that. So I just want to emphasize that this is something we are wanting to work with effectively. I think working with possibility of more taxis, and not using last year as an example because of COVID, or this year, but if we can increase the passenger count of what we have, 15, and we hope to be able to offer 2, I believe you can have 2 families riding separately. I know you can in the restaurants now, but I don't foresee any changes in overall COVID restrictions through the first half of the season. So, again, a 35-foot, 9-foot wide bus is going to be difficult. And if we can come up with a locally
operated program that can be done by licensees here, even, and it's an excellent idea of providing perhaps some services to the employees during that time period. I think it'd be great because you're really talking about an 8-week period, but we haven't had time to do this. And to have a deadline of March 3rd, which is not even really 2 weeks away, I think is pushing really hard. And I think we can. I'm almost positive we can come up with a good program. And I think Judy would like to talk about hers, but I think there's some opportunities out there that I implore the town council to please take advantage of. Keep it local feel here and historical feel here as well. Because this has been going on since the early 1900s, and we want to continue it that way if possible.
Thank you, Brad. I will let Judy go over her plan in a second. I just had this, it's brought up an interesting question is, with a 15-passenger vehicle that can only carry 4 passengers, how many passengers have, because I don't ride a cab, how many passengers were you allowed to carry this past summer? And not
I'd want to have the taxi owners, licensees speak on that factor. But if you're talking about a family unit that can be verified, I think there's a little more leeway on that. They did a phenomenal job with it, but like with restaurants, there are different opportunities there, and I think that the locally owned and owner driving the vehicles might be a little more cognizant of doing things than someone that's not familiar with the riders here.
Thanks, Brad. Is any councilors have any questions for Chairman Brad Martins? No. Is Judy Clark on and ready to go? I'm scrolling through here looking for her.
I know she's here.
Does everybody have Judy's plan? Councilors, do you have Judy's plan that was emailed to us? Okay. I just want to announce.
I'm here.
Hold on a minute, Judy. I want to say that, again, councilors, I got 1 million texts coming in, and I would ask you to exercise your duty by turning your phones off. And if these people want texts to talk to us, they have every right to do so through the clerk's office. So I just want to throw that out there again. If you're going to text me with a question on this topic, you can either call in with that question or statement, or you can email the clerk. They're online waiting for all those. With that, Judy Clark, you have the floor.
I'm on the floor. Okay. So for a long time, this has been coming up throughout my taxi life. And so I've been working on it for a long time, and then it gets put aside because things happen and we don't do it. But we would like to commit to the town council and to the people of Block Island to put a shuttle on for this summer. My first thing I wanted to say is I'm going to donate my 15-passenger van for this purpose. Then I have given you information about the routes. The things that we would need from the town to do this is an area designated on the right-hand side of the road down by Deadeyes. And because we don't want to go down into the marinas, we want to stay out on the main highway. So in order to do that, the only place that needs a little work to pull off the road to pick and drop off would be in front of the boat basin. Other than that, there's plenty of room elsewhere for the vehicle to turn over to the side of the road to pick and drop off. We also want to increase the ordinance says we can have up to 11 people in our vehicles. If we have a 15-passenger van, we'd like to raise that up to that amount of people, whatever the seating capacity is.
Judy, Judy, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it just dawned on me. Can the clerks share this document? Screen share this
Sure.
document so we can all follow
Sure.
along? I'm trying to pull it up in my
Sure.
email. I have read it. But I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if clerks can dig that
Sure.
up. Hear that.
This is just something that I put together just to let you know that I wanted to start the process, and it can be worked on because all the taxis, I'd like to see all the taxis look at it, decide if they think this should be changed or that should be changed. But basically, it would stay the same. The actual route would stay the same. It's the taxi's involvement that might be different. I'm not sure that everyone would want to be involved, because actually what would happen is you'd have to drive the shuttle in a rotating fashion. So if there's 32 cabs and they all do decide to get in on this, then they would either have to drive the cab probably just 2 times during the whole season, the shuttle 2 times during the whole season, or their driver, so that at the end of the season, after all the expenses are taken care of as far as, gas, insurance, this is all the details, or I've written down all the details of how this would all work to benefit the taxis and the people of the island, the visitors and whatnot, and to also record ridership and see how many people we're getting and where they're going and all that kind of thing. And what they're maybe, talk to them along the way and see what they think about different things and just get a feel for the whole project. And like I said, it would, or I don't know if I said or not, but it would be a temporary experimental thing that we can all work on and improve on and see how it goes. And hopefully in future, there's possibility that there could be an electric vehicle involved, which would be really cool.
Right.
Go along with that.
If I could interrupt on that point, Judy, I will say to the town council that I was approached by an individual that if this pilot program that we're suggesting we're able to move forward, there might be an organization that'd be willing to build and implement and obviously we're conservation oriented out here, an electric vehicle, as Judy is saying, that would be in the form of a second shuttle, if you will.
Okay, thank you, Brad. I'm informed that we have a different license and we can't screen share a different license from last week. I'm just going to put the request in to get a license to the clerks and the town manager to maybe get a license that will facilitate that in the future, because it was extremely helpful last week, and it would have been very helpful here this evening. All right, so counselors, Sven, Keith?
Just real briefly, Judy, thank you very much. Somewhat along the same lines of the questions with the gentleman from RIPTA, do you know the width of that van, just for comparison purposes? And two, to your point on however many operators are involved, use that word, operators are involved, I'm assuming their cabs would be running at the same time, or would their cab not be running on the same time? I just want to get clarification of your thinking.
All the taxis will be running. This will be a separate thing that would be operated by all the taxi owners or their drivers, as far as, driving it goes. And so their personal car, or taxi rather, would be also on the road being driven by one of their drivers. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Thank you.
And then the van is the one I've been using for the last few years, and it's a normal Chevy Express van. It's 21 long, and I think it's about 6 or something wide. I don't know, 6 or 6.5.
A standard van that everyone sees on the island.
Yeah, standard. Yeah.
And then lastly, Judy, I didn't talk at all about it, but I'm assuming that the van, or hopefully vans, they would be marked, whether it's a metal, stick-on decal or something. I mean, they would be marked with the name of whatever this called, and that there would be clear designated times that, hey, we're at Dead-Eyes at, this time, every
Yeah.
stop would have a little posting, and there would be a tight schedule, or what are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking that we could I'm thinking about the Block Island Shuffle, and putting, of course, there would be a sign on the vehicle saying that. And if all goes well, and I've sort of driven the route myself just to get a feel for the possibility, dropping off. So I've stopped and I've gone along, and that's why I've looked at all the spaces that are involved to pull over to. And so the actual times would probably be, if we can do it every 45 minutes, it depends on, the traffic. The van would also have a radio, in it that all the taxis have in their vehicles as well. So that if, for example, the shuttle pulls up and they can't fit some people in, that a taxi can be called for them instead of them having to wait. The actual, if we are able to double up in the taxis, people waiting, say there's 6 people waiting, that's $16 divided by 6 is less than what the shuttle might be, for example, or equal to. So it's not like they're being left for another 45 minutes. They can be taken care of readily by other taxis. We will all work together.
Thank you very much, Andre. Thank you, Judy.
Thanks, Sven. Keith? Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Judy, I just want to ask you to follow up because Brad couldn't answer. How many people were you able to carry in your cab last summer?
Oh, that's a sketchy thing. We had the plastic protector and nobody in the front seat. My van, we are legally allowed to take 11 people. If you came up to my taxi and you had 4 people and you were going to the Bluffs, for example, and there were other people this summer, there were people waiting all over the place, not only for taxis, but for restaurants and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so we would ask the people, I know it's probably not what we should have done, but we were forced into very few cabs this summer because of the COVID. And so we would ask the people, the first people getting in, if they were okay with this other family coming in. Nobody got in without a mask on, ever, in my cab or anybody else's cab that I know of. For some strange reason, the whole summer, I had thousands of people in my car, and none of us got COVID. We were very careful about, making sure. Well, there's only so much you can do. The windows were open. We did the best we could. Cleaning as much as we could. It was impossible to do between every person, I'm sorry to say, but we did the best we could, and we took care of everybody that we possibly could. And so, yes, we had more people in the car than we probably should have, I must admit.
Okay, because I was just trying to reconcile with Rip doing a 15 passenger bus that would only be able to put 4 people in it. So, okay, I thank you for your info.
But
Andre, I might also point out that the vehicles that the taxi drivers use out here have numerous windows that fully retract versus a bus that does not as well.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is what's the COVID rules for a bus as opposed to a taxi? Because from my point of view, I think our endeavor here is to move people around as efficiently as possible. So,
and safely.
And so I'm just kind of wondering, what can fit in a Block Island cab that's safe, whether that be COVID related or traffic related. I guess the answer I'm getting is I don't have an answer because Judy, what are your COVID restrictions is what I'm trying to get at. Maybe the wrong question.
Well, it should have been one family. If you're a family or a group coming over on the boat of 10 people, you can get in one cab. If you're a family of 4 or, whatever, but nobody ever got in my cab that wasn't invited by the people who were already in there. So what I'm saying is we didn't follow the rules because we couldn't.
Okay, I understand. That's what I'm trying to, because like I said, it's our intention here is to move people around. So I thought that, okay, I appreciate your input.
Yeah.
Andre, also, if you notice on the end of that proposal too, and the rest of the town, there are some suggestions that we already put forward that we want to discuss, obviously not now, with regards that would really help with congestion and control of traffic on Water Street, which is the major area of contention as well. So we'd like that opportunity as well.
Go ahead, Keith. Thank you, Brad.
Yes, I would just say I have a few things. One is I really appreciate all the work that's gone into this, from Marianne to Ripta to Allison, to Brad to Judy and all the taxi licensees. It's I don't know. I find it in a way really kind of encouraging and inspiring that we seem to be pulling this wagon in the same direction. At least philosophically, toward a solution. And to that end, I know at least a few of us attended the Commission on Motor Vehicles for Hire meeting. Was it yesterday? My days are mixed up right now. And I think Brad and Judy deserve, and others who are on the call, deserve an incredible amount of credit for the way that meeting was conducted. It was very solution oriented, and I really appreciated it because I think people have said the town council ought to say what they want. Here's what I want. I think it was hard to be on Water Street for at least the last couple of summers at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning to look across Water Street and say, I think things are going pretty well here. It just, you sort of can't conclude that. It was a mess, and there are a lot of reasons for it. But clearly one of them is to move people more efficiently, as you were saying, Andre. That's my feeling about it. I have a fundamental bias toward a shuttle or jitney or bus that is run and managed in an efficient way locally. The idea of transitioning to electric as soon as possible, I think is very exciting. I think we're very lucky, as we are on so many issues, to have people who are in the community who are willing to kind of step up to the plate in a way that we probably couldn't otherwise afford in our community to provide us with those opportunities. So, I'm not a transit planner. I don't have any idea what the efficient routes are. I don't have any idea where, an individual taxi driver or licensee makes her or his living during summers. But for me, at that 10,000 foot remove, my bias, as I said, is in favor of a local solution. But I think it needs to be more than one van, just for efficiency's sake, so you don't lose people. I think it needs to be a very clear and relatively simple route to start. I don't want to take tour business away from people who are, I want it to be used as a point to point. I need to go from here to there efficiently. As I said, I think the idea of electric throws sort of adds a bonus that tips the scale, in my opinion. Anyway.
Thanks, Keith.
And I've received a number of texts to the town council that, at the end of August last year, the taxis could carry up to, I believe it's 8 to 10 people, a family unit or group. In answer to your question.
Yeah, I need a definitive answer on that, Mary Ann, about the COVID rules, if we're going to go into the summer on that, and what our taxis are actually able to carry legally. And because again, I need the data on how much we're going to be able to, how many bodies we're going to be able to move around in an efficient manner. So, does council have any
One other suggestion too, Andre, is that we can always, as we have in the past, increase the number of taxi licenses at least for a period of time, which would increase those numbers of people as well.
Yeah, and this is what we're, we, just so the public knows, these are information gatherings we're having here. We're not voting on this until, I believe it's on our docket for the 17th, Mary Ann? And so.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're taking a vote on this on the 17th, and we are going to be having another meeting with the business community also on this between now and then. So,
Andre, are you taking a vote, or are you possibly taking a vote, depending on subsequent meetings?
I believe we're going to be taking a vote on this on the 17th. That's the schedule right now. Because I've gotten the calls and emails about, oh, you're moving too fast. You're doing this, you're doing that, and the other thing. I said, but you know what? People complain that we don't do things fast enough, and we kick things around for 20 years and they never get solved. So we're focused on this, but for me, it's a focus on traffic safety in general. This is a component of, again, moving people around efficiently. It has to do with the moped talks are all that deal with this, and as well as our enforcement, which we have handled that. So this is a multi-pronged approach for me to move people around efficiently. And so, people, like I said, people think that's maybe too fast of a time scale. But we have the summer coming up on us, and we've gotten flack in the past for not getting anything done. And, you're not going to win. You're moving too fast with this, or you're not moving fast enough with that. So,
I would agree with you, Andre, but I also would like to say too that, last year is pandemic year. This year is still a pandemic year. So moving too fast could also be a detriment as well, especially when safety is a concern. And then also, again, with everything that's going on with state funds and everything else, or lack thereof, potentially putting other businesses out during a pandemic, minority owned, that sort of thing. Just food for thought to be thinking about, is a strong concern I think everyone should have.
No, I understand that. And again, I can't tell you where I'm going to fall down on this topic when we come to a vote on this. But as you said, again, there's other islands that do this in concert with the taxis. So do we have any, how can we track if this is going to affect the businesses? Because there are people that, let me tell you, there are people on your list, like you'll see them in the taxi stand now, this time of year. That does concern me. Their income does concern me because there are really good people out there that do this for a living. And that is a concern to me. But I also have 2 dead kids on our streets from last year. And my focus
that were not related to buses and that sort of thing, but more specifically another form of transportation.
And
you're not
listening. Don't interrupt me, Brad. Okay, this is what I'm saying. I'm trying to have a calm conversation with you, and this is what happened last week. Okay. You get all wound up. Okay. So you're going to listen to me now. Okay. For me, this is about traffic safety and moving people and getting people off of our roads. Okay. So if we have mass transportation out here, maybe people won't rent mopeds. Maybe people won't rent the bikes. Maybe we'll be removing people from the road. I don't know that. That's what I'm saying. These are information sessions that we're having. I don't know where I'm going to come down on this. I really don't. But I'm going to listen to everything. Now, you talk about minorities. You know, I've had a chance to talk to some senators this week about our Uber bill. And some of their votes against that are because this doesn't help minorities. There's no Latinos in the cabs, and there's no Black people driving our cabs. And they feel as though that this is geared toward white people. For me, I try to argue that this is about local control. So, you know, you go out and you say, you know, women and minorities, I get it. I totally get it. These are my neighbors too. These are the people I look at every single day when I go to the store. So, you know, I don't really need to be told who these people are because I know them. So that's where I'm coming down on this. Now, you say last year was a pandemic year, and next year is also going to be a pandemic year. I do think this summer is also going to be a pandemic year. So we need to get this squared away. And we're going to do it before the summer. I'm not going to be accused of pushing this through because it's so fast. We're moving, you know, then we get accused of not doing anything, and we're going to have the same summer we had last summer. So does the council have any other questions? Go ahead, Sven.
Yeah, just as to further a little bit, I am right with you on moving people efficiently, effectively, simply, and reducing congestion. I think that is the goal. And I think to your point, Andre, and I do remember about 2 years ago, Chris Willie and I talking about this quite energetically with the drivers. But I do think that a little bit like Keith said, I'm very intrigued by Judy's proposal, or the motor vehicles for hire proposal. I am sort of one who leans into local, but I do think we need to figure out a second vehicle, because I do think that 2 vehicles are pretty critical. We talked about that the last time with RIPTA. And I really do want to thank RIPTA for coming out and for doing everything and working with Marianne. And I think this has been a really, really good discussion. But I do think on the 17th, I hope that while all the details probably can't get worked out, I hope that we're able to sort of look at 2 proposals, if I use that term, in order to be able to move people efficiently, effectively, and simply, as well as reduce congestion. And that's going to be a decision we'll make as a council, but I think, or at least I hope we have those 2 options somewhat worked out. Currently, the RIPTA one asks a lot of questions. Not schedules, the route, things like that. So there are stops. There are a number of things that the RIPTA proposal asks questions about. Judy's document has some thoughts about. So I think there's work to be done on all sides here as we weigh the choices. And as you said, if the 17th is the vote, you know, when we're going to vote, then I think I hope both will have more fleshed out, but at least more firm proposals. Because I don't want to vote on one thinking the other one's going to happen and then it never happens. And I don't want to vote on one and then the other one comes a month later because we've already committed. So hopefully both RIPTA and I'll say motor vehicles for hire can do the best to get proposals flushed through. And I appreciate everybody's work. It's been a lot of work over the last few weeks, and thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Sven. Go ahead, Keith.
I was just going to say, I think it strikes me that it might be worthwhile to have Brad and Judy and, you know, whomever have a meeting with Marianne and Allison to kind of put some meat on the bones. So that when we get to the 17th, I assume when you say we're going to vote on this, the plan is for us to vote on a plan. So it seems like there ought to be there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and in the interim, it seems to me that between our meetings, it seems like it would be worthwhile for Mary Ann to be involved in that conversation.
Remember when we tried to put a
Got it.
on it? That's how he walks.
Anybody?
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Judy.
This is Judy Clark. So what is the importance of voting on this on the 17th? Is there any way we can get a little time to make it to the next meeting, and so everybody has time to work on their proposal? I'm glad that you're including the taxis in this voting process that you're going to go through, in hopes that I didn't realize we were going to be competing. However, if that's the case, we will do what we can to make it a very clear proposal for you. And can't wait to talk to Mary Ann. How's that?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
We're committed. We want to do this, and that's all I got to say.
thank you, Judy.
Should I mute?
I'm going to call on a few people with their hand up. So
Okay.
if you want to
All
speak, you can raise your hand. Who's there? Ryan McGarry. I see your hands up.
Hi, Andre. Hi, everyone. I just got a couple comments here. I've been present at the last couple meetings and quite a few before that as well. And I think it goes without saying that this was obviously not an ideal year to try to take statistics, being a pandemic year. And also, from what I understand, is that we've had some very good economic years throughout the past 5 years or so. And I definitely don't want the council or anyone within the community to forget what a recession is like. And it may be coming to a point where the cabs would have to battle with the RIPTA. And I think that that would ultimately affect all of the businesses within the community, all of our pockets. And I think it's just unfair to make a decision like this so quickly that ultimately could affect the island for many, many years to come. And I think that the cabbies should definitely have a majority say in this. And I think that if you as a council don't hear them out, this is going to have serious negative impact.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Ryan. We've been hearing them out. We've had a meeting. This is the second meeting we've been listening to the input from the cabs and the general public. So I don't want that out there that we're not including the cabs. But thank you for your comments. Fred Leader. Where's Fred?
Andre, I think this is Champ Snow talking.
Yeah,
Hey,
Champ, hold on a minute. I called on Fred Leader. It's Fred.
Oh, okay, I was told on mute. I'll hold.
Okay, am I here? You guys got me?
Which number are you, Fred?
2587.
2587. I don't see you, but I hear you, so go ahead.
Okay, my first comment, I keep hearing about one of the major concerns is congestion, relieving congestion downtown. So I took some measurements and I worked some numbers. Water Street is 24 feet wide from sidewalk to sidewalk. From that, a parked car, and I think this is conservative, with space from the curb is about 6 feet, leaving 18 feet clear. The bus is saying 10 feet wide. You have to give them, the bus is 9 feet wide. Again, a real low estimate. You got to give them a foot off the curb. This is leaving 8 feet for cars passing other directions, bikes, mopeds, pedestrians. Our large taxis, average, mine's 18, Gina's is 22. I would say probably an average of 20 feet is probably a good bet, which is 15 feet shorter than a trolley. I'm guessing, I don't have an actual measurement. I'm sure, though, that Penny Sprague and Ballard's oil and gas trucks are less than that. The congestion, sorry, folks, people bring their cars because they want to drive. The same goes with bikes and mopeds. They're fun. They want to come out and rent mopeds and ride around like nuts. People walk in the street, they're going to walk in the street. Now, if there are designated trolley stops, people are going to block the sidewalk waiting for the trolley, more people in the street. I understand there's been some talk about off-site parking. I've heard the town hall has been suggested as a possibility. Based on my experience at the post office for, well, many years, I really have doubts as to whether that would work. People ignore signs such as customers only and reserved for employees. At one point, I actually had to make a sawhorse so employees could block their spots. And if you were to go in the post office right now, well, any busy summer day, chances are the lot will be packed full and there'll be 4 customers in the post office. I'm really afraid that if we involve this, people are going to try to come to a meeting at the town hall and find spaces all taken up. People might be leaving their vehicles overnight. So those are some thoughts, some positive ideas. If we could have a police officer directing traffic, in front of the taxi stand on Water Street when the boat comes in, because there's a lot of confusion, just get people moving instead of milling about. And this only needs to have to be for 15 minutes, half an hour. Maybe the same kind of deal at the tollway, just to keep things moving smoothly. If we could might want to talk to Interstate about opening that gate to stage the autos a little earlier. That is a huge problem, as anybody who sits in the cab stand can tell you. On a busy day, they will have cars backed up from Rebecca on one end to the Surf on the other, all trying to get into that interstate lot, which is full, so you can't drive through the interstate lot. Some things that came up in the course of the discussion. 3 major island businesses, Champlin's, the Ore, and the Surf have been taken over by corporations recently. If you can compare it, the cabs are all mom and pop, and we're being threatened perhaps by a bit in a large operation. Every time the cab stops, the trolley stops, the board, it's going to back up. And one thing, it was the trolley has compared at 35 feet, has been compared to the school bus at 40 feet and equated, which the numbers are pretty close, but we have to realize that the school bus and also the tour bus from Interstate are only coming through town 3, maybe 4 times a day, as opposed to 2 buses making multiple runs a day. And again, back to it, there's a lot of people, really depend on their income, the income from this. Minorities were brought up. There are very few, our demographic is, they're not a whole lot of Black people. We're more and more Hispanics, but the rule for getting a cab is to get on the waiting list and wait. I personally, 16 years on the waiting list. If, some of these other folks want to get on the cab list, then, it doesn't happen overnight. Let's see, I think that is, that's really about it. If anybody has a question on this, I'd love to, I'll just shut up and let somebody else talk.
Thank you, Fred. I'm going to ask if people, because there's 83 people in our room, I'm just going to ask if you keep your comments limited to 2 minutes so we can get through this. Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry.
No. It's not you. I didn't announce that before, Fred, but I thank you for your input. And I will go to Christine Mange. Champ, I still see you there. Christine.
Hello. Hello. This is Christine. I just wanted to let you know that I'm a cab owner, so of course I'm pretty partial to having a local decision. The comprehensive plan, if that is what we're living and die by, did make reference that it should be encouraged to be a kind of a local decision or a local involved idea. And although I appreciate all the work of RIPTA and but the idea of having you had me maybe, but not when you mentioned Nantucket, because I think that's what people don't come here for, is they come here for Block Island. And whether you like our little cab system or not, it does do a great job. And our shuttle is perfectly, as the comprehensive plan says, let's do it. And I think Judy has some good points. I know that I haven't had the time to really dive into it. I may have been remiss in some of the meetings, but if the town has met with RIPTA multiple times to work on this really nice proposal, could we please give the benefit of the to the cabbies as well? Am I correct in saying asking, is it February 17th or March 17th that we're talking about?
It's February 17th.
Well, that's pretty quick. If you think about it, half the island, a lot of people are leaving next week for vacations or whatever. It's a very big travel week. Not that I'm going anywhere, but honestly, it's very quick to make such a major decision that would change the look and the future of Block Island forever. So I encourage you to work with the cabbies and keep it local. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Much appreciated. Champ.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? Andre?
Go ahead.
Hello? Okay. Similar bus to trolley. Fred pointed out it may be the same size or it doesn't even matter. Come summertime, the school bus doesn't run. RIPTA has no funds. We cab owners, we have a vehicle. It's not going to cost the state a nickel. We can handle it. We can run it. Flex buses, what with? Flex buses, I think, is the same name we use for our vans. We have the capability. What Christine just mentioned, how come we weren't offered the same, excuse me, I'll rephrase that, Andre. When was RIPTA first asked to make a proposal?
I can answer that. This was a discussion that went back to the town manager before us, and I believe 3 years ago, or two or 3 years ago, the town council, and I remember Chris, Willie, and I, and Sven were here, and we had a meeting with you guys, and we said we wanted you to come up with the trolley, the jitney had come up, and you flat out rejected everything. You rejected it. You said no.
Wrong.
No,
Andre, Andre, please check your minutes. I was at the meeting. We said, tell us what you want and we will provide. Please check that. That's a falsehood. Don't say that, because it's not true. But moving forward, this last time when RIPTA was invited, maybe it was the fall. How come we weren't given the same advantage to make a proposal? Judy's got an excellent proposal. Many cabbies are on board. We can provide what you think you have to go to the state for at no cost to the state. That's another point. The state says they're going to do data ride ship every 30, 45 days.
We're going to wrap
we
it up
know.
in 10 seconds.
We know what the data is. We do it every day. And how many people, Andre, do you think we need to move? Put 2 more vehicles on the road and we'll take care of it. And as far as work is said, how about, your route may go to the west side 20 and Champlin's, but what about Eureka? What about across from the school? And what about the people living up the west side? We take care of that. Thank
We're going
you.
to give someone else a chance to raise their hand. Thank
you.
Brad?
Hi, Andre. I just want to say that we hear what you're saying and that we welcome the opportunity with some of the taxi license holders to sit down and meet with Mary Ann and discuss options as well. Because I think what you're hearing is you are getting a commitment from all of us locally. However, a 6-day turnaround, especially with break week coming, it just might be a little bit of a stretch, but we'll try and do our best. But there is definitely a commitment there.
Thank you, Brad. Thea Manje?
Hi. So I've spoken before, and I'm not a proponent of a jitney on the island, but I'm just wondering about ways that we can kind of think outside the box when we're talking about working with RIPTA here. I mean, I don't think that on the island is necessarily the best way for us to actually alleviate any traffic issues that we've had forever, but why don't we look at ways that RIPTA could work with us to do a park and ride on the mainland that'll alleviate the parking problems on the mainland that Champ mentioned in our last meeting? Or why doesn't the 66 bus that travels to Galilee doesn't align with the ferry schedule so that you couldn't get people that wanted to take the bus and not bring their car might actually have a chance of getting to the island on time if those schedules overlap? So I don't support a jitney on the island, but I don't think that our conversations with RIPTA should end, because I think that there's a lot of ways that they can actually help our traffic problems, just not specifically on our roads. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Thea. Much appreciated. All right, I see no more questions. Mary Ann, can you give me a synopsis of steps forward?
So the original plan was that we had RIPTA come at the March 3rd workshop with a follow-up meeting this evening and a decision whether or not we would be moving forward with RIPTA on the February 17th. As we stated with the question and answers, the reason why we're looking at that timeline is that RIPTA needs to be able to plan for the summer if they were going to provide services to the island. Scott, is that pretty accurate with the deadline and the timeline?
Yes, Marianne, that's correct. Now, like I said at the last meeting, though, that doesn't preclude us from having further discussions. If you decide you don't want to move forward this year, we can have discussions for, another year.
Thank you, Scott. So what would we do? What's our next step? Business meeting with the business holders in the public?
I'd be happy to meet with the business owners if they want to. I'll be happy to meet with anyone.
Okay. No, I mean a Zoom meeting, a public meeting.
That goes pretty much without saying, yeah.
Well, I know you were meeting with, you were going to meet with Judy and whatnot. I just wanted to make sure that was squared away. All right. So what is our action here this evening? Sven?
This isn't on your agenda for action this evening.
No, I understand that, but what is our action moving forward after this meeting? Sven, do you have any comment?
I think Bill McComb
Yeah.
is trying to get in. I just got a note.
Andre, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, but you're not named properly, I don't think. But go ahead.
Oh, that's not on my end. Sorry about that.
Well, your name today is Palmisano.
Perfect.
Palmisano.
pizza shop.
Well, I could
Yeah.
anyway. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, one thing that just kind of concerns me a little bit, we're hard fast. It seems that, and I think Keith addressed this, to have it a date for a vote. Whether, and I got confused because I think that it was said it was the February 16th and then March 17th. But either way, whichever one it is, I think what's before us, and I think both suggestions with Ripter and with Judy. When I look at these are more concepts than they are plans. There's a lot to be done, and it should be presented, meaning whether it be the vehicle, whether it be the actual route, whether it be the actual hard cost. I think at this stage, I mean, the presentation looks nice, and the same thing with Judy's, but the concepts. It isn't a plan that has been solidified as this is exactly what we want. And I think those things need to be worked out. I think the cart's a little bit before the horse. And that's not to say that on the 17th of March or June or whatever it might be, but I think we're putting that deadline down. But I think that the council needs to be clear on exactly what it is. Is it economic? Is it the mobility? And I think tonight, I think it's been a good conversation tonight. I think it's headed in that direction. It needs to be clear what that is. And then I also think Keith mentioned it too, that, the town manager and Allison Ring should work with equally, not just Ripta, with whether it be the taxing commission or whether it be the gentleman that put a proposal before. We should work with everyone to come out with what is the best, what is best for the island. And like I said, at this stage here, I feel that this is more of a concept than a plan. Those things need to be worked out before you can even entertain taking a vote on an authorization to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Counselors? Any questions, comments?
Sorry.
Keith and Sven, you
What-
both have your hand up. So Keith, go ahead.
Oh, I was just confirming because I wasn't sure I heard it. Mary Ann is going to sit with Brad and Judy and whomever. Is that correct?
I heard Brad, Judy, and Allison Ring.
Great, terrific. That works for me. Whatever works for you guys. Thank you. I just wasn't sure I heard that. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sven.
Just to repeat, I look forward to the 17th when we can have these two proposals, I'm going to call them, flushed out a little bit more, commitments down, and we can make a decision. I know you want to do that, Andre, and I look forward to the 17th and pencil sharpened.
I do want to do that. However,
No.
we all want to do that.
Yeah.
So we can move forward into the summer with a plan, and we don't have the disaster that we had last summer.
Yeah, I didn't mean you. I meant we. Sorry.
Thank you. I see somebody labeled as iPhone with their hand up.
They have a pizza joint too.
I'm sorry?
They have a pizza joint too.
iPhone.
Hi.
Hi, who is this?
This is Charlene Worth. How you doing?
Hi, Charlene Worth.
I'm just trying to get to how to do this Zoom, so stay with me here. Sorry about that.
Thank you. I know you're not a woman of many words, but I will just say I would say to help to keep in the 2 minutes. Thank you.
I just want to say that, last year at Memorial Day weekend, this place was dead as a doornail. Nobody expected what happened last summer, least of all me as a taxi driver. I didn't even think I was going to work last summer. And then, bam, we got slammed. Now, we were half the fleet that we were, and we still worked our tail off. And we got people to where they had to go as best as we could. Now, let's go back to summer beforehand. The full fleet was on. We got everybody to where they were going, picking up, dropping off, no problems. Then we could have 10 weddings, every other weekend. And we dealt with that crowd too. So I just don't want you people to judge what happened last summer with us cabbies, because that's not how it is. That was just the coronavirus. And we were all waiting. I mean, people were waiting in restaurants. People were waiting to get into stores. People were waiting to get into ice creams, like everybody had to wait. And, I had people get in my cab who've been regular visitors of the island. It said to me, and other cab drivers as well, wow, we've never had to wait for a cab before. Because it's true, they never had to wait for a cab before. So please just don't let last summer be the judge of, of bringing a RIPTA out here. And if you're thinking about a larger vehicle, keep it in-house. Let the town do it. Let the taxi commission do it. And that's it. And thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. Appreciate that. And star 9 would put that hand down of yours, Ms. Worth.
I'm trying, sorry.
No worries. I hate to call on you twice and have you not.
No, this is my first Zoom, so sorry.
Oh,
Trying to
well,
figure that out.
Well, thank you for your input. It's much appreciated. I know you've been around for, since before the dinosaurs, like everybody else. Any more on this topic? All right, we will move on. Scott, Greg, much appreciate you coming back for this. All the input we get, it's much appreciated. Like I said, these are listening sessions.
Our pleasure, Andre.
Thank you so much.
We'll get the answer that'll be the best for our town, because I think that's what we're all here for. Soon. So certainly appreciate it. All right. Next item on the agenda tonight is to go to clerk base and look forward. Hang on a second. I didn't have the document, the packet printed for myself. So discussed on the proposed changes to the Town of New Shawm General Ordinances, Article 4, Section 8-76 through 8-95, governing motorized cycle rental. This was put on our agenda last time we met, which was a week ago, and a proposal from Councilor Stover. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to put this together. I want to thank Mary Ann and Kathy Morello for getting it to us in such short time. So with that, I will let Mary Ann and Kathy give the outline on this. I think people are muted.
Mary Ann, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
She might be muted. Yeah,
Okay.
I got
There
my
we go. Sure. So what the council asked us to do is review in detail the proposal that Keith had presented and get something back to you folks for this meeting this evening.
Hold
So
on, Mary Ann, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm terribly sorry. I just want to make sure I see. Is Martha Ball here? Okay, I got her. She's here. Okay, I want to make sure all the councils were here. Continue. Sorry.
No, that's quite all right. So the approach Kathy and I took was similar to what we did when we were looking at the charter amendments that was put forward when you asked us to get it in a final form. So that's pretty much the approach we took here. We put what was the proposed, we put what the recommendation, we provide you with some information as to why we propose a change to what Keith has brought forward. All of them we kept conceptually as to what Keith was trying to, what we thought Keith was trying to accomplish with the proposed amendments. And I think Kathy did have a dialogue with Keith at some point to be sure that we didn't miss anything that he had put down on paper. So if you like, we can go through these one by one and then take comments and go from there.
Thank you. I think that did.
Is that the pleasure? Okay.
I think so.
So the very first one it started with, said that procedure for the issue of a license. And the language proposed was, and each licensee's application shall include the plat and lot number, the map upon which the licensee proposes to rent its motor scooters, and a plat number and map indicating the location where the licensee would conduct training. So what we did was we recommended some language that may help that. And the language we recommended is the vehicle proficiency area shall be identified by submitting a site plan drawn to acceptable engineering scale and containing parcel identification, tax assessor map and lot, ownership, zoning classification, and identification of the exact location on the premise, and a GIS map of the premise where the applicant proposes to operate a vehicle proficiency area where renters practice using the vehicle before going on to state or town's road. So, and then there was a second piece to that. It relates to the storage of the vehicles. The second piece to that is that the applicant's plan for off-season storage of the vehicle complies with state law and town ordinances. Kathy, is that correct? Did I miss anything?
No, that's correct.
Martha, do you have a comment?
Do you want?
No, I'm sorry, I was coughing.
Oh, okay. I see your box lit up. I thought you might have a comment.
That's what I said. I going back on mute.
Thank you, Martha. Comments from Kathy? Comments from the council? Council. Keith, go ahead. You're muted, Keith. I'll unmute you.
Thank
There you
you,
go.
Andre. I think the language that Marianne and Kathy worked on this issue is an improvement over my ham-handed drafting. So I really appreciate it.
You know what, Keith? We'd like to, messy's fine. Messy's fine if you're going to come up with, I really appreciate what you did. Instead of complaining about something, you came up with a solution. So
Thank you. I appreciate that, Andre.
Messy is fine. We have staff to pick that up for us to make us look like professionals. Appreciate that. Sven, do you have a comment?
No, I was just going to say, thanks. Perfect.
Martha, comments on this this item?
No, this is basically what we had talked about last year, in fact.
Yeah, I know we were working on this last year and then we got hit by COVID. So
We actually did pass it last year. We just all forgot.
pretty much. Mark Emanuel?
Yeah, quick question on the second half of that. You mentioned state law and local ordinances regarding its storage. Do we have to include fire regulations, or is that inclusive when you say state laws and local ordinances?
That's why we kept it broad, because state law does set forth all the requirements, the fire safety requirements.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any other comment?
Well, very good.
Keith, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, is the motion that I make to schedule this portion for public hearing, or what do I do? Speaking of being messy and wanting to be professional.
If I could answer that, Andre?
Go ahead, Kathy. I'm hoping you will.
Under section 409A of the New Shoreham Charter, the motion is to make the proposed amendment to hold a public hearing on it. So you would make a motion to hold a public hearing on this proposed amendment.
I will make a motion to hold a public hearing on this proposed amendment.
I will second that. Second for discussion. So the process on this now is, do we have to have a meeting to schedule, I believe, the public hearing, or Molly Fitzpatrick could probably answer that if she's.
That's right. We don't quite have enough time to get this on an agenda for March for sorry, March 4th. So you may as well, so you may as well schedule the public hearing next week, February 17th. You can put it on for schedule, set a public hearing date,
Um,
and then you can have the public hearing at the interim March meeting.
so but basically my question is, legally, can we schedule a public hearing tonight?
If I could answer that,
Kathy,
the
no.
vote for tonight is supposed to include the date, time, and place for the public hearing under the charter.
Perfect. Thank you. So
When is the next meeting?
17th.
and with posting, Molly Fitzpatrick, I'd like to set that date tonight. And if you need, obviously take some time to, find a date, an appropriate date.
And the vote on that can be taken at the end to give Molly time to come up with that.
Okay, so you're saying two motions?
Yeah, I think that what would make sense to do is go through them one by one. The council votes yes or no, and then at the end, the council can set the date. But the charter requires that at this meeting, the council sets the date, time, and place for the public hearing, not less than 3 weeks from the date of posting.
Thank you. So you're suggesting.
So do Andre and I withdraw our seconds and motions, or?
No, I think we can clarify that by having a single motion at the end saying that.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
do it. I think that would make
Okay.
sense. That will give the clerk
Great.
time to,
Terrific. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't see any. Okay, so motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Keith?
Yes.
Sven?
Aye.
Martha?
This is just the language thing. Is that correct?
Language.
Aye.
And Mark?
Aye.
And I approve also. Motion carries 5-0. So we'll just give Molly a second here.
Oh, if you're waiting on me, the date would be March 17th.
Is there a way,
Go ahead, Sven.
Andre, or Molly, is there a way to do it? I heard 3 weeks. 3 weeks from today is the 2nd. If we were to have a meeting on the 2nd, could we do that?
The ordinance itself, the proposed ordinance has to be posted for 21 days. We're not posting it today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go the 3rd. Okay.
So the next regular meeting that we could hold it on is the 17th. If you want to have a special meeting sometime between the 1st and the 17th, you can do that. But we don't have time to post it for the 1st.
Okay, when I need
Go ahead.
clarification.
Go ahead, Martha.
When was
Martha, can you repeat that? I'm sorry, you're a little broken up.
Oh, I stopped talking. When is this going to be able to be posted?
I can post it tomorrow.
We can get it in the paper this week.
No, we cannot get it in
Doesn't
the
it have-
paper this week.
It does. Oh, this doesn't have to go in the paper.
It has to go in the paper 3 times.
But it doesn't have to be tomorrow. So you can post it tomorrow and the 21 days can start tomorrow. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's right. That's
No.
why the next available regularly scheduled meeting that you can hold this at is March 17th.
So for me, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can I ask a question? Molly, is there no way to get it into the paper this week, being that it's Tuesday today? It's a question.
Even if we got it into the paper, we wouldn't make the 21-day posting deadline.
Oh, I understand that, but I'm just saying if we were to, so that would be then 3 newspaper ads, which I think you need, right? And so we
Right,
could,
and we can do that on the next week, the week after, and the following week. We can do that on the 13th, 20th, and 27th.
It's Tuesday. I think we can get that in the paper this week.
You don't,
I mean, honestly, I mean, I've had times where they've called them up on, I've spoken in the newspaper on Thursdays and it's been in the paper.
so I guess I'm hoping we could have a special meeting the week of the 1st. And I understand it's a special meeting, but that week, because obviously there's licenses that then need to be issued after, right?
You've got to back up from the date. Now, the posting, I'm sorry, I'm not understanding something. I thought it had to be posted in the paper 3 times.
It does.
correct, it does.
And then we can, and remember, this is calling up and getting something in the paper at the last minute is one thing. Putting a legal ad is something else entirely. You've got to have the language exactly right, or you're back to square one.
It's not only a legal ad, this is a long ad to put in at the last minute. This isn't a notice of, a notice of change of hours of something. This is a 2.5 column, 3 column ad.
Can I?
Go ahead, Marianne.
I have to agree with Molly on this one. I really hate to rush this, even though we are rushing it. I think we should decide at this point, we will not get in the paper this week. The paper comes out Friday. The deadline is usually noontime on Wednesday. Sure, have we in times pushed the Block Island Times a little bit to accommodate us? If this is a 2 to 3 column document, I don't want to do that. Like I said, God forbid something goes wrong, I don't want to do that. So I think the posting in the newspapers will have to be on the 20th, the 27th, and the 19th, the 26th, and the 5th of March. That leaves you the first week of, the second week of March, the week of March 8th, if you want to do a special meeting. Is that correct, Molly? Is that how the days are going to go? Look.
That's how I see it, Marianne, yes.
Keith, I see you have your hand up.
Would somebody refresh my memory whether we can vote for whatever ordinance changes we decide to hear at the date of the public hearing, or do we have to wait till the next meeting?
I believe that charter amendment did not go through. It won't be on the March 3rd ballot, leaving you the option to pass it at the first public hearing.
Okay, so for me, I would like to have a special meeting that is a public hearing where we could act on this prior to the issuance of licenses, or simultaneously, on the same agenda as the issuance of the licenses.
Can we make that happen?
Because one of the things I'm concerned about is there may be things here that we want, there are things here that we want the moped operators to be adhering to. And I'm very concerned that if we issue the licenses prior to the passage of these ordinances, they would have an arguable claim that they wouldn't have to comply.
Can I make a little comment here?
Oh, sure, please, sorry.
If necessary, I will drop everything. I think I can get it done by noon tomorrow.
Super Solicitor, thank you for your time. Okay, so somebody pull the calendar out.
So if it's then the 12th, the 19th, the 26th,
We still don't have the 21 days, so it's still a special meeting.
That's okay.
Let's pick
so
a
we're
date.
still looking at like the 4th or 5th for the special meeting, Molly. Is that what we're looking at?
We're looking, Millie has some information about when you scheduled the renewal meeting. And it looks like it doesn't, it looks like it's before this ordinance is going to be heard.
Renewals are scheduled right now for your meeting of March 1st.
We're not going to make that day. The March 1st, if the 21 days, we're beyond the 21 days for the March 1st.
That's correct.
So we can't do it then. So as I understand it, as it relates to the ordinance, it can't be no less than 21 days after we post this document. So if we post this document by noontime on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, the 21 days brings us, if it's no less than 21 days, I count out 21 days as March 3rd. So Kathy, do we do it March 4th? Or if we post it at noon, I would just do it March 4th in case it's not posted by noontime on tomorrow. Is that fair? Do I have the calendar correct and the dates correct?
I don't have
As
a
I
calendar.
understand it.
Yeah, I just,
We're still having a little difficulty with the insertion in the paper. I can't, I didn't reserve that amount of space in the paper. Maybe they can do it. Maybe they can't, but the March 3rd meeting hinges on it going into the paper tomorrow.
I'm wondering if Rosemary Rosemary came down and fixed the Zoom thing. If Rosemary, if you're there for the paper, just wondering if you could call 3201 and let us know if that's possible. Oh, she's here. She's actually in the meeting.
She is.
Well, Rosemary, on the spot. In the meantime, do we have a motion made in second?
It's still, it's still. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna just retract that. Thank you.
Are we, sorry, where are we at? We had a motion made and seconded, or are we working on the second motion? We haven't started the second motion yet.
I think so.
All right, so while you guys are working on that, I'm gonna call on Sarah Bacon. Her hand's up. Sarah Bacon. Ah, she's unmuted. Sarah Bacon, you have the floor.
Sarah, if you're talking, we can't hear a word you're saying.
I think she's unmuted. Didn't she disappeared though from the top?
Yep, that happened last time she was called in.
I'm sorry, can you hear me
There
now?
we go. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay, sorry, guys. Andre, you might have just answered my question, but it was, does the discussion of the logistics of the town charter with a change in ordinances preclude the discussion of the rest of the language of the ordinances, the new draft that Keith proposed? But I think you just answered that. In other words, you said, should we move on to number 2? That was my question.
I'm not sure I understand your question. We voted on the ordinance changes to approve the ordinance changes, and now we're going to be voting to on the date of the public hearing.
Okay, it was my understanding that the document I saw that was shared with you guys was much longer than the text that Marianne had read out. So I wondered, were the rest of the ordinance changes left behind, or I guess I was expecting to review more of the draft that Keith had shared with the community, but maybe something changed in the meantime, or maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Yeah, I think Keith had worked with Kathy Marola on those to make them consistent with state law, but I can't answer that question. I will, if Kathy Marola could do that, that would be great. Or Keith.
Yeah, this document addresses, the document addresses every proposed ordinance amendment.
Okay.
Nothing is left out.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
I see. So the text that Marianne read addresses all the proposed amendments?
No.
No, they're voting on each amendment separately.
I see. So the first amendment was read by Marianne earlier, and then she will read the other amendments. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. That was my misunderstanding. Thank you very much.
If I could, Andre, while clerk's office is checking it out, we can move on to the other ones and then just have a vote at the end of this, setting the date.
Excellent.
All right, Keith, I see you getting comfortable. Your motion pen in order.
So Andre, are we going to vote on the first one?
Yes.
We did.
No, we haven't voted yet.
Already?
We haven't voted. It was seconded and that stopped.
Thing, I don't know if they've come up with. They can't.
We voted on the first one.
We voted on the first
We
one.
did.
We took a roll call.
Okay,
You did.
sorry. My fault.
We did. It's okay.
All right, let's go to number 2.
Okay, so the second one, okay, I'm unmuted. The second one is the proposed ordinance amendment seeks to add the following language to the following language. The town shall establish and update a fee for the license that reflects the direct cost associated with the regulation of the moped rental. So according to Rhode Island general laws, it allows town ordinance to establish a fee to charge for the issuance and renewal of any license for the rental of motorbicycles, motor scooters, and or motor tricycles. The holder of the license is authorized to rent or lease and shall not exceed a sum of $40 per motorbicycle, scooter, tricycle. Rhode Island general law is clear that a municipality cannot impose such a fee in the absence of legal authority. Inquiry was also made at the last meeting regarding the application of an impact fee. Impact fees are authorized by legislation through Title 45, Chapter 22.4 of the Rhode Island General Laws, which defines an impact fee as a charge imposed upon new development by a government entity to fund all or portion of public facilities, capital improvements affected by new development from which it is collected. Any impact fee would not be applicable in this case. The recommendation with this one is to submit and lobby for the amendment of Rhode Island general laws, which would increase the amount of the fees. So the recommendation from staff at this point is that the council not move forward with that piece of the amendment that was proposed.
Comments, councilors?
Thank you very much.
Keith, you're good. Okay, you want to go on to number, so Keith, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can't blame a guy for trying, Andre.
Actually, playing for a lot of things, and a large part of that is trying. But yeah, you can be blamed for trying, but you know what? You know that we're good. Okay, number 3, Marianne.
Okay, number 3. This one was a proposed ordinance amendment that would allow for motorized bicycles, scooters, and or motorcycle tricycles may be rented or leased only between the hours of 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. and that the operation of these vehicles may only occur between the hours of 10 a.m. and 7 a.m. Under Rhode Island general laws, the town can enact such ordinance that establish hours during which these motorized vehicles may be rented. Therefore, it's recommended of the staff that you can move forward with that amendment as proposed.
Comments?
Is this making better or worse?
I'm sorry.
What is the time frame currently?
I think it's 8. Hang on.
Currently, they may be leased between the hours of 9 and 6.
Oh, the new one, okay.
That's the summer,
So-
right?
So we're talking about 10 and 7 now?
Yes.
10
No.
is when everything really begins to crank up in town. I mean, are we just pushing the people rent before? I'm not in town much before 10, and I don't know how many of them are already out on the street by then. But you know, it's a vacation town. People are up and about, and if pushing it back to 10, I'm not sure that that's going to do anything to alleviate the problem.
I disagree. Hold on. Fine.
Audience, you need to wait until you're called on, please, by the council. Thank
And
you.
I also remind people I'm downtown every day. And 10 o'clock is the push, is the big push. Currently, with people getting off the boat and all.
Councilors, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, let me get a clarification because for quite some time it was always 9 a.m. to 8 p.m.
The clarification is currently it may be leased between 9 and 6, but they may be operated between 9 and 8.
So anything on the back end of that to get them in early, I think, is a good safety measure because as you get deeper into the summer, it gets dark earlier. So I'm all for the 7. Now, Martha has concerns about starting 10 a.m. I think that becomes more of a lifestyle or people are out here to enjoy Block Island when they get off. If they're immediately overcome with the mopeds when they're trying to have a nice breakfast at the Royal or at the National, and all of a sudden all they hear is the din of mopeds, it doesn't make it that enjoyable. So I'm comfortable with the 10 to 7.
John, do you have anything?
I'm good with 10 to
I'm
7.
just thinking of getting them out
10 to
before 10.
Okay, Martha, thank you. I see 2 hands up.
And
iPad.
7 is
Who's in the iPad? Who's iPad?
That's Claire. Sorry.
Claire. Claire, you
Yeah.
have your hand up.
Yeah, I do. How you guys? Thanks for this. On the cost sharing provision that the one that you just discussed, I accept that it can't be done under the law that Kathy recited, but I'm just wondering or just putting a placeholder on how cost sharing might occur through any other means. I just hate to see the taxpayers or the community take on additional costs again to subsidize this operation. So that tactic may not have worked, but I encourage you all to kind of put your heads together to figure out another way to do that. We're already subsidizing the medical center and the rescue squad, as I've already said, and I'd hate to see us take on another cost on behalf of the operators. And on the timing, to the same point that Mark was making about buzzing during your breakfast. I don't know if buzzing during your restaurant at the beachhead or anywhere else where there's some curbside outdoor dining and cocktailing that starts certainly before 7, whether it makes sense to cut that back even further, to have them in by 6.
Thank you, Claire. Sarah Bacon?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Can you
thank
hear me? Okay, great. I want to echo Claire, who's always wise, in that I think it's, and Mark, I think it's both a concern to have rentals out early in the morning for, both visitors and residents on weekends who might be trying to sleep or eating breakfast, whatnot. But I also think that an earlier return time, as was instituted this past summer as an emergency measure, really worked very well, because then you cut off this sort of early dinner, get sloshed, get back on the ferry, and yet you have to bring your moped back to the rental site after you're sloshed. So if return were, say, 5 p.m. At best, or 6 p.m. as a compromise, I think that would be extremely helpful in terms of reducing rates of inebriation en route back to the rental site. That seemed to work quite well this past summer when the town council instituted early returns. Thanks.
Thanks, Sarah. Discussion, council? Oh, wait a minute. No, she's got her hand up. Right, I went through the list. Nobody else with their hand up. Sven, go ahead.
Keith, maybe you can help me for a minute. I'm hearing energy for 10 to 6, and Martha maybe 9 to 6, but more 6 p.m. is what I'm focused on. Is there a reason why you went to 7 and not 6? That's compelling, or is 6 good?
No, I mean, as you recall, at the last meeting, I wanted the 10 for the reasons that have been described, but also for a practical reason that Marion and Martha and I think was it Paul Dean who worked with you, that they were talking about the challenge on Weldon's Way with the Cisco delivery trucks first thing off the boat. That was another part of the rationale for 10. And I know that Paul, if I recall correctly from Marianne, Paul was going to engage with the food delivery drivers to see whether they could pack the trucks in such a way that those the downtown stops are made early. So that was it. On the backside, I knew that I thought that we were going to revert to the later operating time, the later return time, which was 8, I think, from last year's emergency ordinance. So I wanted to try to strike a balance there. I mean, look, if I'm all in if someone wants to move 5 or 6, but I just thought it was a bit of a splitting the baby, to be honest, Sven. It's not ideal.
So 10 to 6 is as attractive to you as 10, or maybe more attractive to you than 10 to 7.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fine with me.
Clarify.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody want to make a motion? Oh, Elliot Nirenberg, I see your hands up. Elliot, I'll wait for you, Elliot. I see you put your hand down.
Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you so much, Elliot.
Hi. Thank you all for, first of all, especially Keith, for trying to put all this together. Many of us really appreciate your finally beginning to take some action within the confines of what you can do. 2 comments at this point. I would certainly urge you to consider changing it instead of from 10 to 7 to 6 o'clock. When it was 5 o'clock under the emergency last summer, what a peaceful thing. I'm on the west side on Cooneymus Road, but on the mainland of Cooneymus Road, not down towards the beach. What a difference it made. When it used to be to 8 o'clock, it's like I couldn't even have dinner on my deck without hearing all these people going by. So I think 6, frankly, I think 5 would be better, but certainly 6 o'clock would be a compromise. I don't see why it needs to go to 7. Remember, there are, at this point, about 1,200 year-round residents, thousands of homeowners who are there in the summer. There are 5 moped operators. The balance needs to be struck in favor of quality of life. That's one question. The other is, I know at the last meeting, you put off deciding on renewing the licenses or not until March 1st. This is a question, I guess, Andre, for you, for Mary Ann, and mostly probably for Kathy. On March 1st, can't you simply delay it for another week until you have your special meeting adopting these ordinances? So there'll be no question whatsoever that the moped licenses are subject to these new ordinances. Otherwise, this has been a waste of time for this year. I don't see why that can't be done. It'll be up to you, Andre, and Kathy, and Mary Ann, and the rest of the councils decide. But I don't see why you delayed it for a month. Why can't you delay it another week at the March 1st meeting? That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. I will leave that to my legal counsel.
That's something that doesn't have to be decided tonight. We can talk about it, and it can be put on the next agenda. And that's going to depend on, this advertising. So I would just say hold until we do have a meeting coming up.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you,
And
Elliot.
we definitely hear you, Elliot.
Yep.
Definitely hear that.
Yep. I had to step aside, wait for a minute, so I'll take over. Elliot, if you're done, if you could just lower your hand, that would be helpful. Thank you. Keith, sorry. Miter, do you have I see your hand is up, M-I-T-R-E? Can you unmute yourself? Okay, Miter, can you unmute yourself?
Sorry, it might be a little bit of a typo, so there you go.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay.
Now we can hear you, sir.
I'm 3182. Am I being called on?
Yes, you are. Thank you. Sorry if we got the name of it wrong. Sorry.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the council for paying attention to this issue. I must say, as a medium-term resident of only about 50 years, a little bit disappointed that we couldn't see stronger action by the council, but we appreciate what you've been able to do so far. Two specific questions.
Excuse me.
One is when I...
Identify yourself for the record.
William Wilson, Cunimus Road. Two specific questions. One is when I spoke to the police department last year about mopeds on dirt roads, I was told that the police may not ticket a moped, they may only ticket a moped driver, and that therefore, if they can't find the driver, because for example, he's at the beach with his moped parked on the dirt road, there's nothing to be done. Is that correct?
Kathy, can you address that, or we can follow up at another meeting?
We can follow up, but in general, citations are issued to the person.
Would it be possible to amend the ordinance to make it clear that the moped could be ticketed and therefore the moped fleet owner would chase the moped driver?
I'll speak up, Kathy. We can discuss that. I guess my hope would be, first of all, thank you for the comments, and that's a really good comment, interesting one. I was trying to get input on this timing, just so we can talk about that one now, and then maybe at the end we can capture other comments so that your point of assignment is an interesting one. Did you have a second question?
Well, it was really back to the question of the definition of direct cost, which may or may not be on the agenda right now. Is that on the agenda now?
We actually covered it before, so we had already talked about that, and I think if you read in the note that was on the clerk base, it's covered in pretty good detail.
I've read that. I just was unclear, even from the note, whether direct cost would include the costs which are imposed, as people have mentioned, through the medical center and the police force upon the island. And whether if those could be tracked to a moped fleet owner, would those be deemed to be a direct cost and therefore brought into his or her fee, license fee? That's a question for the solicitor as well.
Kathy?
Direct costs, I've dealt with that in the memo.
Yes.
And the issue of the license that can be charged is preempted by state law. And in Rhode Island, all fees, taxes, etc., which a city or town may impose, permission to do that comes from the General Assembly, which is why Mary Ann and I made the recommendation that if you were looking for an increase in the licensing fee, that would require submission and lobbying for an amendment to Rhode Island General Laws 3119.3-5B1.
Thank you very much. And I do want to, we'll
Well,
come back later or another
Thank
time.
you, and I will stop now, but it would be helpful, I think, to understand direct costs better in the future, but thank you, I'll stop talking.
No, thank you very much. And we appreciate it and we agree on future concepts of direct costs. I also see Sarah Bacon, you have your hand up. And if you can relate it to the hours, that would be helpful.
Hold on, Sven, may I just step in? And,
No, I'm glad you're here. That's
yeah.
fine.
I'm sure you are. Thank you so much. Mr. Wilson, I see you're still here. Mr. Wilson et al., everybody here on this call, all of these suggestions are fantastic. But we are, as I said last summer and through many meetings, we're trying to operate within the framework that we're allowed to operate in right now. Every single one of these suggestions we've gotten from everybody are just, we're trying to do what we can do to operate in the framework that we are allowed to operate in right now. However, when July of 22 rolls around, all of these suggestions will be considered. So I appreciate the comments and the input, but I think they'll have to wait until we can actually do something significant, which is July of 2022. So that was only my comment on that. It's just to let you know that your comments are appreciated. And if we can't, I don't think there's a lot of them we cannot, and we simply cannot incorporate right now. But they're in the blender for discussion all year until July of 2022. So with that, I'll go to Sarah Bacon.
Yeah, hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Andre and Claire, I just wanted Claire to belatedly echo you and now echo you, Andre, which is the idea of the fees. I very much hope that the town council will reconsider the fee structure, licensing fee structure in 2022. And I just wanted to bookmark that for those discussions because as Respect BI has noted publicly in our ads for one in the Block Island Times, the town generates quite a bit of revenue from shellfishing licenses, which I believe is about $15,000 to $18,000. I'm not sure of the exact figure off the top of my head, and much less from moped licenses annually. Yet they incur a great deal of cost and burden on our three critical island services, mainly the medical center, the New Shore Police, and the Volunteer Rescue Squad. So thank you for bookmarking the reconsideration of those licenses, whether it takes approaching the state or not. I think it's a very important consideration for 2022. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, Sarah. And Mr. Wilson, do you have a follow-up or do you have your hand still up? Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Appreciate it. Yeah, and to just to follow up on what Sarah just said, my guiding principle and decisions have been made oh my God, I can't believe it's almost been a year with COVID, is listening to my doctor and the science. And our medical center and our doctor have been fantastic with providing us this input. And we will be ready with solid scientific data when that time comes. Martha Ball, I see you have your hand up.
I don't have my hand up.
Yeah, you can put it down.
Except I'm wondering, are we still supposedly still on time?
I knew if I called on you to have something to comment.
Well, I just don't know where we are anymore.
We are on the time, yes. So with that,
We need a motion. We need a motion.
we need a motion on time. Sven's hands up. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion, but I'll let Kathy fill in the first part because I didn't get it all. But the motion is to go from 10 to 6 p.m. So I think it was proposed amendment. Well, anyway, what is the exact wording, Kathy? I can make that.
You want me to read it to you? The proposed ordinance amendment seeks to amend New Shoreham General Ordinance Section 8-88 to provide that motorized bicycles, motorized scooters, and/or motorized tricycles may be rented or leased only between the hours of
10 a.m. and 6 p.m. And that the operation of those vehicles may only occur between the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Thank you. I got it, Marion. Sorry.
Motion on the table. Is there a second? Is there a second on that motion?
Second, Andre.
Seconded by Mark. All those, I don't see any hands up. All those in favor? Keith?
Aye.
Martha?
I'm in favor of 7. I'm going against it. I think it's just going to it's not going to help anything. If we're really talking about congestion, I think it would be disingenuous. Thank you.
So you vote no?
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, you already voted. Sven?
Yes.
I stand with Martha on this because I know Martha has worked with the moped operators and Mary Ann and everybody else and Kathy to come up with this document. So I'm going to stand with my staff and my counselor Martha Ball on this, and I'm going to vote no. Motion passes by a vote of 3-2. Mary Ann, next.
Next, just for a point of order, Kathy, we need to keep in mind that that under our current section 409 of our charter, that unless we specify that, and maybe we can do this at the end, specify that these amendments will take effect upon passage. We have to wait the 7 days. So can we someone tick mark that as to when? I think at the end of the meeting, maybe we can do that, or do we do it now, Kathy?
I have a note here at the end of this to ask the council to make that motion that all these proposed ordinance changes go into effect on passage.
Thank you very much for pointing that out, Kathy.
Yeah, I'm reading her mind. Okay. Proposed.
Yeah, and I think it's in the memo as well.
It is, yeah. I just didn't want to forget it. That's all.
Absolutely.
So now we get into some of the safety amendments. So proposal to add to the New Shoreham General Ordinance Section 8-90. Each licensee shall ensure that no passenger sitting behind a driver is by virtue of age, size, or physical limitation unable to be safely carried on a motorized scooter and shall ensure that no person renting a motorized scooter should carry any person in front of the driver. This one, we took it and embedded it in this whole ordinance. So it's in different areas. So it's going to take some time to go through this. So the recommendation is each licensee shall make available to persons renting motorized bicycles, motorized tricycles, and motorized scooters eye protections and helmets of the type approved by the state as set forth in rules and regulators promulgated in accordance to Rhode Island General Laws 31-10.1-4. Each licensee shall comply with section 18-24 of this ordinance and all applicable laws and regulations of the state and its agencies, including without limitation, Rhode Island General Laws 31-10.1-6. Each license shall ensure that no person renting a motorized bicycle, motorized tricycle, or motorized scooter shall carry any person in front of the driver. Each license shall ensure all passengers on the motorcycles, motor scooters, and motor-driven cycles are provided with a separate rear seat, a separate footrest, an appropriate handlebar or grip for his or her use, and that all passengers wear a properly fitted helmet of the type approved by the Division of Motor Vehicles. No person shall operate a motorcycle, motor scooter, or motor-driven cycle unless any passenger on it wears a helmet and is able to rest his or her feet upon the footrest. Each licensee shall ensure that any passenger on a motorcycle, motor scooter, or motor-driven cycle under 12 years of age has a properly secured backrest or equivalent, shall have his or her feet upon the footrest, and shall be seated behind the operator unless a sidecar is provided. When, however, a sidecar is provided, this age requirement shall not apply to any passengers in the sidecar. Violation of this section are subject to fines as enumerated in Rhode Island General Laws 31-41.1.4 and applicable town ordinance. In addition, violations of this ordinance, as well as any other town ordinance or state regulations, may result in suspension, revocation, and/or non-renewal of licensee's license. That's the language we recommend with that one.
Thank you.
Is that correct, Kathy? Yeah.
Yes, and I just wanted to point out that we had reviewed the language and able to be safely carried, that we did not include that because it calls for a judgment call. It's ambiguous and non-specific. And it would make enforcement very difficult. In addition, there are certain concerns about requiring, people with physical limitations. For the moped licensees really shouldn't be put in a position of deciding whether someone with Parkinson's disease or whatever, you just don't want to go there. We want these to be enforceable so that our police officers can go there with a list, this, and this, check it off, and know what they're doing in terms of enforcement, which is why Marianne and I embedded this in the safety provision. And it's very specific. So that's my addition to that.
Thank you, Kathy. Council, any questions? Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I'm liking that finally something is written down that passengers in front is not allowed in any way, shape, or form. That's super. No more gray area. Now, some other items said handlebars for passengers. How is that going to be accomplished? Right now, they just put their arms around the driver and scream and hold on for dear life. How would we accomplish handlebars or some restrainer for a passenger?
I would point out that the appropriate handlebar or grip is part of the ordinance as it exists right now.
For a passenger, Kath?
Correct.
Okay. And another thing, that while we're on the passenger, I love the footrest idea, but a lot of times moped dealers will order their next shipment of mopeds with just footrests that are up a little bit higher to get the smaller passengers on legally. Now, 12-year-old was mentioned as a passenger. Is this now carved in stone? No one less than 12 years old can be a passenger?
That's what's
The
currently.
12-year-old rule is in our current ordinance, and it comes directly from state law.
Okay. Explain the 12-year-old thing I heard as you were mentioning everything. Does that mean that passenger must be at least 12 years old?
No, this as I said, this is the way our ordinance currently reads. This comes from state law, which says that someone under 12 years of age has to have a properly secured backrest or equivalent, shall have his or her feet placed upon the footrest, and shall be seated behind the operator. Those are the state law requirements for passengers under 12 years of age.
Okay, in this new wording, we're not promoting sidecars now, are we?
That's already in the ordinance.
That's under tricycle, or tripods, whatever you call them.
Can I ask?
So we have to wait till next year to hopefully eliminate that word from the ordinance?
The reason, well, sidecar is in the current ordinance, and the reason that it's there is because state law provides that those requirements are not required if a sidecar is provided. As a practical matter, I don't think mopeds are going to have sidecars. We just needed to include that exception because it's mandated by state law.
Can I just interrupt Mark really quick? Can you describe a backrest? 'Cause I don't think I've never seen any mopeds with backrests on them, and I just
Single basket, yeah. Milk cotton is what they use.
so. Kathy, you just mentioned the backrest bit. Are those required?
That's been in our ordinance for a while. We didn't change that. It's in there. We just added some more definition, but that's already in the ordinance.
Right, I understand that. But a backrest to me is like you'd see on a motorcycle. Is there any kind of thing that a backrest or is there any kind of something on these mopeds that are considered right now a backrest or handle or handlebar or whatever?
I mean, we could check that out, Andre. I don't ride them, so I don't know what they have on them right now.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you. Council, question?
The milk carton serves a dual purpose. It's storage, and it does provide a restraint in the back. For too many people, it just serves as a place to put the helmet after they leave the testing ground and go out on their own.
Thank you, Mark. Council, any other questions from the council, comments? Claire Costello, I see you have your hand up.
Thanks, Andre. I would discourage the milk carton for serving as a backrest. I don't think that's what's contemplated in the ordinance, frankly. I don't think it's a proper backrest. Number two, I think there's a question for Kathy. Just because the mention of the sidecar is to provide an exception to the rest of the ordinance, but isn't the town able to prohibit sidecars? In other words, isn't the sidecar exception in the state ordinance there as a caveat? Should the other requirements not be able to avoid meeting the other requirements? But if we outlawed sidecars, it would require that those other requirements of footrests and backstops and so forth be met. Is that right?
Kathy Merlo?
Well, Yeah, the area of the sidecar and the under 12 rules is preempted by state law. So if we wanted to eliminate that, we would need to go to the legislature.
Okay. So does the way it's written now suggest that if they cannot meet the backstop and the handlebar and the footrest as required in the old ordinance and the current proposal, that effectively then no one under 12 can ride?
Okay, so as I said, this language has been in the ordinance for quite a while.
Right, never enforced, obviously, never enforced. So now what we're saying, I'm trying to understand that should we go forward with the language as it has been written but never enforced, to be enforced going forward, does it effectively mean that unless mopeds are rigged with rear handlebars, footrests that a child can reach, and a proper backstop other than a milk crate, that effectively then they cannot rent to anyone under 12 years old?
If they do not have the equipment required by state law, they cannot rent under 12 years of age.
Thank you. And then my last question, as we're speaking about age limits, is to better understand, I know that this is also governed by state law when you can get a license, be it a motorcycle or a car license and so forth, but often rental companies, businesses, raise that age. So for example, you can drive at 16, 18, whatever it is, but you can't rent a car until you're 25 or 23 or 28 in some cases. Is there any ability for the town to do something similar with respect to renting a moped?
State law, basically what they say is that the town can require that the person renting the moped have a license to operate the vehicle. So the age is set by state law.
Okay.
A change to that would require a change to the law by the General Assembly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Claire. I see Keith ready to make a motion.
Be pleased to.
I'm kidding. Kidding. Do you have any comments? Counselors, any comments? Would anybody like to endeavor a motion?
Are we going to just do one master motion at the end, or are we could? I've forgotten.
Okay.
What we decided.
I will let Marianne or Kathy answer that, and then
Marianne, what you've been doing is you've been making motions at each of the specific areas that we've discussed.
I would move this section for a public hearing, please.
As is.
As is.
As is. Anybody second? Second on that. All those second motion was made and seconded. I see Elliot Nuremberg got his hand up. Elliot? Elliot Nuremberg.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me now, Andre?
I can.
Oh, great. I just had one question. I remember I believe it was last summer, there was a requirement or a discussion that all moped renters are going to have, at least adult ones, have to have a wristband that bars could not then, or restaurants, sell liquor to. What happened to that? Is that part of the safety? Is that a separate rule? What happened to that?
Marianne?
So as I understand it, the wristband was strictly something to notify restaurant owners and bars that the person who had the wristband was the operator or the driver of the moped. Since sometime in September, there's been a group working with the moped owners that include myself, Martha Ball, Paul Dean, and Charlene, as well as all the moped owners. And we agreed to a number of items on the side with them. And one specifically was the wristband. They will continue the practice that they had last summer, that all moped operators, the ones that are driving, will have a wristband. That wristband strictly lets the restaurant owners and the barn owners know that they are the operator of the moped.
And are they not allowed to sell them?
So how is that going to be enforced if it's not part of an ordinance?
I will let I know the answer to that, but I'll let Kathy give you the legal answer on that. Kathy Merler, if you will.
The reason that the yellow wristband is being done through an agreement, it involves an inability to do it otherwise.
Okay. Because
of the limitations on the town as to the types of ordinances which can be enacted pertaining to mopeds.
Okay.
So does that mean that the borrowers?
All right. And the other question resulting from that, so the moped owners are voluntarily going to do this. Is there any violation or any fine that a bar owner gets to knowingly serve somebody who has this wristband on?
No.
No. Okay, so it doesn't seem like I understand you may be able to do it by ordinance, but it sounds like a pretty hollow reality to me. Because certainly last summer, I saw moped operators, I don't mean the owners, but the renters who had the bands on, and I saw them in bars, and I saw them being served. And, even if I called the police and said, hey, look what's going on, there's nothing they can do. So I'm not sure what that really does other than gives the appearance that the moped owners are cooperating. I don't see how this really works. Thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Elliot. Sven, go ahead.
Andre?
Oh, hold on.
I hear, Mr. Nordberg, thank you. I would really like to thank Marianne and Martha and Paul Dean and others in working with the operators. I want to be very careful that my hope is we can blend changes of ordinance, which Keith has proposed, and I think we're going through now, together with agreements and partnerships with the operators on issues like we just discussed, and that we all sort of work together on this. I really don't want to say something is not good or any negative terms. I think we're all doing our darndest. I truly believe that Marianne and staff have done an incredible job over the last few months, and I actually believe that we've done more in 4 months than in many years. And so I want to be very careful. I hear the comments. Trust me, I know them, but I just would like everybody to realize how much work and the efforts that are both now regulatory, which is great, as well as cooperative. And thank you. I just want to make sure everybody understands that we're all trying to work together on two fronts.
Thank you, Sven. Martha, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to clarify this, and I don't know where this misinformation is coming from. There was never a law or that the people couldn't be served. It's more of a flag for bartenders, honestly, that do they really want to be the last person to serve somebody who's driving a moped? The moped dealers wanted the wristbands also because they wanted to be able to say the person to whom they had rented it was the one who was driving if they did have an accident, because they say they've had some difficulty with the person to whom it's rented then handing it over to someone else, and some accidents have occurred at that point. It's simply this voluntary, it safeguards, and I'm sorry if misinformation is out there. It did not come from anybody on the committee.
Thank you, Martha. Sarah Bacon? Sarah Bacon, you have your hand up?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. I just wanted to echo Elliot's remark in a way, and Martha's, that the wristband policy, while probably most of the community knows about it now from the moped debate, is only as effective as the education policy of the businesses with the 30 plus alcohol licenses, liquor licenses. In other words, if we don't make them aware that people who are ordering drinks and may seem inebriated with those wristbands have mopeds, then it's a useless policy. And I think that education of the business owners with liquor licenses would be a fairly low lift from a town management perspective. Thank you very much. And thank you all for taking this issue so seriously. I should have said that at the outset. I'll mute myself.
Thank you, Sarah. All right. We're ready for a vote on this. Sven, are you?
Nope.
But you're muted.
Can you please repeat the motion?
Martha, it was the motion I read under 8-90 safety. It's on page 4. It's a lot of editorials and language.
And it was stated as is.
Yeah.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor, Sven?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Martha?
Aye.
Keith?
Aye.
I approve. Motion carries on that item 5-0. Next item, Marianne?
Okay. The next item, the language that was proposed by Councilman Stover, proposed to add to New Shoreham General Ordinance 8-90 that each licensee shall be responsible for instructing each person renting a motor scooter in the proper operation of the vehicle in the form of presenting a comprehensive training video followed by a questionnaire on best operational practices and relevant town ordinance, and that each licensee shall administer a supervised test drive to each person renting a motor scooter or on the licensee's premises or on the premises leased for such purposes. The language that we're proposing with that is each licensee shall be responsible for instructing each person renting a motorized bicycle, motorized tricycle, or motorized scooter in the proper operation of the vehicle in the form of presenting a comprehensive training video followed by a questionnaire on best operational practices and relevant town ordinance. Each licensee shall administer a supervised test drive to each person renting a motorized bicycle, motorized tricycle, or motorized scooter on the licensee premises or on premises obtained for such purposes.
Thank you. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I have before me did you just read section 8-90?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you. Can I read that back to you? Just because I what I heard wasn't what I had in front of me. So I just want to be abundantly clear that each licensee shall be responsible for instructing each person renting a motor scooter in the proper operation of the vehicle in the form of presenting a comprehensive training video followed by a questionnaire on best operational practices and relevant town ordinances, and that each licensee shall administer a supervised test drive to each person renting a motor scooter on the licensee's premises or on premises leased for such purposes.
Actually, Andre, that was the proposed one. The actual one is below that.
Right.
Right.
Thank
I
you.
read both of them.
That's where I know. I'm sorry. The last one. I'm sorry. I'm reading the one below that. My fault. I just wanted to be abundantly clear, and it is right in front of me. So thank you. Are we voting on this, or are we going to number 3. We
I
include,
would vote on this.
okay.
I would suggest you vote on this. I recommend you vote on this.
Okay, so, no, are we going to 3, like, ... proposal to add section, each licensee shall ensure a person seeking a passenger motorized scooter is intoxicated upon rental. Each licensee shall install on each motor scooter an ignition interrupt switch. Okay, nope, okay, I'm back.
That's why we're holding off on that one.
Exactly, I'm back. Okay, Council, any questions on this?
Nope, I was just going to make the motion that we schedule for public hearing the draft as amended by the changes proposed by the town manager and solicitor.
Motion been made. Anybody second?
Second.
Seconded by Mark and Sven. For the record, Mark. All those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
Sven?
Aye.
Keith?
Yes.
Martha?
Aye.
Aye, and aye. So the motion passes 5-0. Okay, Marianne, on to the next one.
Okay, the next one. This is section 80-90 under safety number 3. That proposal to add to the New Shoreham General Ordinance, section 8-90. Each licensee shall ensure that no person seeking to rent a motorized scooter and no person seeking to be a passenger on a motorized scooter is intoxicated upon rental. Each licensee shall install on each motorized scooter an ignition interruption switch or similar device designed to ensure that renters cannot operate the motorized scooter while intoxicated. We are proposing the following language instead of the language that was presented. Pursuant to Title 31, Chapter 27 of the Rhode Island General Laws, it is unlawful for any person to operate any vehicle in the state while under the influence of intoxicating liquor. No licensee may allow a person who is visibly intoxicated to operate or to be a passenger upon a motorized bicycle, motorized tricycle, or motorized scooter.
Councilors, questions?
What kind of switch could recognize?
Yeah.
No questions from council? Elliot?
No, I think it's, clearly ignition interlock is something that we're going to have to deal with the legislature on if we decide to do that. I mean, frankly, I would argue that they ought to do this for rental vehicles too, but that's not in my bailiwick. So I would make a motion that we reserve for public hearing the the amendment as modified by Marianne and the solicitor.
Thank you.
For discussion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded, and I see Sven, you seconded by Sven. I also see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask whether we don't want to say something like, or add drugs in. I know we're focused on liquor, but
I thought the
add
same
drugs.
thing.
So, I would just say influence of any intoxicating liquor and drugs or something of that nature. It's a question.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, hold on. I'd have to, let me get that exact language
Kathy,
for you.
Kathy, take your time. I'm going to take a call from Elliot Nuremberg. Elliot, you have the floor. Elliot, I see your hand up. Do you have a comment?
Hi.
There he is.
Hi, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I have just a question on this last thing. You talk about, a switch that would turn the moped off if someone's intoxicated. How does that work? I rent a moped. I get myself drunk. How does the owner know that I'm intoxicated to switch? I'm not sure I understand that at all.
Well, this is what, this is one of those things that I actually brought up, suggested, and Sven, I think we all kind of thought it was a good idea, where there's a tube you blow into, and if you register any alcohol, it doesn't start. So that was that. People that get, people that get arrested for DWI and go through the courts, sometimes they're required to put those on their cars in order to drive them to work. So that's what that device does. And it was my pie in the sky idea.
It's a good idea.
We had, but it's it is ridiculous in a way to require these people. No, I'm not going to use the word ridiculous, but it would be outside of the bounds of what we're allowed to operate in right now.
Okay,
However,
thank you.
was-
The only other question I had is, in the past, I can't remember if it's part of the ordinances or not, is there a requirement that the mopeds have a governor so they can't go beyond a certain number of miles per hour?
Again, that was something I brought up last summer. The mopeds are shipped with governors. They are governed to a certain amount of mileage per hour. I believe some of them, some of them on the manufacturer's website said they were capable of 30, 35, I guess. And I personally seen going up Spring Street, you drive up there. Mopeds going faster than that with two people on it. So the question was, is there a way to require that they not be taken out? So the thing is you don't put a governor in, you take it out to make it go faster. So, that's something that in an ordinance, no, that's not going to happen now. However, when mopeds are crashed, we can certainly direct our enforcement authority to inspect the vehicle to see if that governor has been removed.
Okay,
so
thank you.
That's where I am on that. Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you.
Kathy?
Yes, I have the state law here. Cannot operate under the influence of any intoxicating liquor, drugs, toluene, or any controlled substance as defined in Chapter 28 of Title 21. So we could say drugs, but obviously we have to have a metric in here. The typical metric under state law is visibly intoxicated. We could use, visibly intoxicated or impaired, if you wanted to do it that way.
Would adding just under intoxicated, adding just or impaired in any way work?
Well,
I'm going to leave you with the legal advice, with the legal wording on that.
We have to be careful because it has to be enforceable. And what does impaired mean? So let me just work on this for a second.
Okay. I want to note that we are approaching the 11 o'clock hour, which we usually stop at. I'm fine motioning to go past 11 if we need to, because we could start a little late. I just want to give you the 25-minute warning.
Thank you.
We're almost there, aren't we?
Yeah, we're close.
Well, you never know.
Did you bring the air horn for the 5-minute warning?
Yes.
If we kept on topic, we would have been done.
I know everybody's
a while
having
ago.
so much fun. No one's looking at a clock. But, I'm just bringing it up. We get 25 minutes. We'll need,
Keep everybody on topic, we'll be fine.
Hey, Andre, while Kathy's looking at that language, is there any way we can use those ignition interrupt switches maybe down at the boat before they get off the boat? Say on 4th of July weekend or VJ Day?
The solicitor's busy right now, Mark. Leave her alone.
That's where they should issue the wristband after the breathalyzer getting off the boat.
Don't get punchy now. Don't.
Things are recorded.
I think the wristband was a good idea last summer, but I agree. I mean,
Why don't we just make it simple and say not lease to a person under the influence of liquor or drugs as set forth in Rhode Island General Laws 3127-2.
I would amend my motion to include that language.
I amend my second. Thank you, Kathy.
Clerk, will that work? As an amendment? Doesn't need to be stated. Kathy, will that work as an amendment?
Yeah, let's make it work.
Okay. So motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor? I don't see any comments. All those in favor, Sven?
Aye.
Martha?
Aye.
Keith?
Yes.
I'm in favor. Mark?
Aye.
You switched it up, trying to keep you awake. Motion carries 5-0.
Can you please repeat the motion?
I didn't make it, so go ahead.
It was the language as modified by the town manager and the town solicitor, with the addition of let's see, under the influence of liquor or drugs,
As
consistent with Rhode Island General Law section, or in accordance with Rhode Island General Law section. I don't have the section and subsection in front of me, Kathy, I'm sorry.
3127-2.
3127-2.
Thank you very much.
Well, you got that. Okay, thank you so much. I do see a hand up, 202-441-3182. If you'd like to comment, just let us know your name, and you have 2 minutes in comment time.
Hi, this is William Wilson again. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I wonder, again, question for our solicitor probably, if we can require our fleet operators to not rent to people who are visibly impaired. Is it possible in this ordinance amendment to require our fleet operators to report to the police upon the return of a moped anyone who's visibly impaired at that time?
Catherine Murillo?
Yeah, I don't think that's not something I've looked at. That's not something I considered. That would have to rest for another day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, Marianne?
Point of order, Andre, now that they have been voted on, I need a motion that to the effect that all of the amendments to the ordinances which have been approved this evening shall take effect upon passage.
I'll make a motion that all of the amendments we have made to the current ordinance take effect upon passage.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Mark? All those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
Keith?
Yes.
I approve. Martha?
Aye.
And Sven? I got an aye there. Motion carries 5-0. Motion carries 5-0. Claire Costello, I see your hands up.
Thank you again. I just wanted to suggest to those who are speaking on a parallel track with the moped operators to gain their cooperation with some common ground principles of operation, that you might consider taking some of these things that we were required to leave on the cutting room floor because of the operating paradigm and the consent decree, to take some of those up and see if the moped operators might, in good faith, in the name of public safety and the spirit of cooperation, voluntarily engage around some of those issues that we are not legally able to do at this time.
I believe, and I have to give the credit where credit is due, that the town manager and the doctor and Martha and Paul Dean this is going on. They're a voluntary there are voluntary things that the moped operators are doing. Maybe they weren't mentioned here. Well, the wristbands.
No,
they
yeah, I
moved-
understand. I just meant we identified additional things this evening that we are not, that you're not able to enact. So they're out there in the ether. So they might be taken up in subsequent conversations with the moped operators.
Yes, correct. And I do see a few here tonight, so they are listening. And yeah, Marianne, Martha.
We met today, so we're meeting in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Marianne. Sven, go ahead.
Do we have anything, just to make sure with Kathy, are we done with this part of the agenda? I just want to make sure there's nothing else we need to vote on or do. It's a question.
You're not done. You're not done, Sven.
That's why mine, yep.
The vote under section 409A of the charter must establish the date, time, and place for the public hearing. So that's another thing we had saved to the end.
Yep.
So we need a motion that the votes taken today to include, to have a public hearing on these proposed ordinance amendments will occur at a public hearing, and then you fill in the blank.
And Molly, do we have the blanks?
Well, the town solicitor is going to give me the ad tomorrow by noon, so that's terrific. If that happens, you can have the public hearing as soon as March 4th.
Right. Okay. I'm just concerned if it doesn't make it and we schedule it. So we can still schedule this for March 4th tonight.
And then reschedule.
Yeah.
And then reschedule if we want. Okay. I'll motion that,
Excuse me, we also need the time and place.
Yeah.
It's going to be via Zoom for the governor's order, and it's going to be at 7 o'clock.
make a motion that we,
Could we do it earlier?
it's fine with me. I mean, I don't,
Because you might, have another matter at another hearing. I think you want to do that as early in the day as possible.
Lunchtime?
March 4th, hold on, let me pull out the schedule. Let me pull up mine, hang on.
How about 4 o'clock?
How about noon?
Noon would be better. Noon would be better.
I like noon.
I was like, Kathy Morello's got something on our docket for March 4th we don't know about, but let me just pull up my schedule here. Okay, March 4th. That's a Thursday, correct?
Correct.
That's a Thursday.
3 weeks before April Fool's Day. Okay. I'm free. Anybody want to make a motion on this? I'll make a motion that we post a public hearing for 3 weeks, the changes that we just made to this ordinance, to be heard via Zoom at 4 p.m. on March 4th
12.
at noon. Yep, sorry, 4. I got 4 written down. Via Zoom at noon on March 4th.
Second. Oh, Mark.
Mark, second. Discussion, Kathy, that's a good motion?
Yes.
Thank you. So all those in favor, Martha?
Aye.
Sven?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And Keith?
Yes.
I'm in favor. Motion carries 5-0. Anything else? Anybody want to make the, go ahead, Sven.
Oh, real quickly, I want to just take a minute, and it'll be a minute, Martha, don't worry, I'm on task. I want to take a minute and really thank Marianne, Kathy, clerks, all the people involved, including the council members and even the citizens. I truly believe that we've tackled more in the last few months, and big issues, mopeds, shuttles, Marianne's working on the police chief, search, changes to the charter, not just having a 5-year thing, but actually changes to the charter that were rewritten. And I really want to acknowledge the pressure that this put on staff and Marianne and everybody. And I thank you all. And I think that comes from all of us on the council. But I really just did want to say that while still folks are on the phone.
Thank you,
Our
Sven.
pleasure.
What
Thank
day did we vote for?
March 4th at noon. It's a
Okay,
Thursday.
thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I think we've all had enough fun here tonight. I second that. All those in favor? Martha?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Keith?
Yes.
And Sven?
God bless. Yes.
And I'm an aye. And so that motion carries 5-0. I do want to remind the public. I know there's no part tonight, but I do want to.
That's my dog.
All night I've been. Hey, became easy. All night I've been looking at voting machines in town hall. So I just want to, the clerks have done a fantastic job setting this all up. So Molly, I'm not sure if there's early voting, but I believe March 1st is the day. I could be wrong on that, but it looks great. I really appreciate, your efforts during these times with getting this done. But there's a full-on.
We have early voting starting tomorrow morning from 9 to 3. We'll be doing that Monday through Friday. And the polls will be open at the school on March 2nd.
March 2nd. It's March 2nd. So yeah, no wonder it looks so great in here. Okay, I'll make sure to clean up after myself when I leave.